How do we add tasks to the new timeline in SharePoint 2013? But more importantly, how do we get that timeline to show up wherever we want it to? Let's find out. First, let's add some tasks to the timeline. We do that by clicking on the ellipse and choosing Add to Timeline. Now that we've added the task to the timeline, let's see what information we can see if we work within the timeline. If we hover over Task A in the timeline and click on it, we'll notice that the panel opens. It tells us what site this task comes from and what app. It also tells us who it is assigned to, how many days until it's due, the actual due date, the URL. We can actually open the item, or we could simply edit the date range. And here we could simply extend the due date or change the start time. And we can also choose to remove it from the timeline. Let's edit that back in. This adds our task to the timeline. Let's add a couple more. Notice that after we add a task to the timeline, we have the option to remove from the timeline. This is only available once the item's been added. Let's add it back. Now that we have some tasks in our timeline, let's see if we can't make this timeline appear on the landing page for the Human Resources site. To do that, we're going to choose to edit the page. Then we're going to insert a web part. From Content Rollup, we're going to choose Timeline and click Add. Now that our timeline is added to the page, we need to configure it. So from the Web Part Edit menu, we're going to choose what site we want to pull the information from. Currently, we'll be pulling it from the HR site, but this URL allows us to pull the task information from any site and then select which task list we want to show. This one, we know we want to show a list. It's from the Human Resources site, and it's another task app. That's the name of our list. Our view name is Timeline. We want it to appear up at the top. We can also change the title so that it more accurately represents what we're displaying. Go ahead and click OK. Now save the page. Now when your boss comes to the page, they don't have to dig down to the task list to find out what's going on and what's planned. This could also be used to create a dashboard for the executive team to see how multiple projects are moving forward. Now, let's go back to the task list, and now we'll add Task B to the timeline. And you'll see when we go back to Human Resources, the new addition shows up. That's how we get this timeline on our landing pages.